What's up everyone, John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo here with a full review for you of Sony's latest flagship. This is the Xperia Z. It was one of my favorite phones of CES 2013 and ran away with one of our Best in Show awards. Let's see how it translated from concept to production, see if it deserves a spot in your pocket for the next few years. Alright, so before we get to the full review, let me remind you what the Xperia Z is rocking. There is a lot under the hood here. You're looking at a 5-inch 1080p display. It means it got a resolution of, say it yourself real fast, 1920 by 1080, giving it a 441 ppi. It's running Android 4.1 at launch, but Sony is hopeful that they'll be able to get 4.2 on it. 1.5 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon quad cores, 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of storage, but you can up that with a micro SD card. On the back, it's got a 13 megapixel camera, 2 megapixel on front, Bluetooth 4.0, 802.11 BGN, and a 2,330 milliamp hour battery. Alright, so before we get into the full review of the phone, let's get this one out of the way. Call quality, if it's not going to make good phone calls, it's not really going to be that useful for you. Call quality is actually very good. This is an OEM unlocked version. It does not have compatibility for AT&T's LTE network, although we did test it on AT&T. Call qualities were great. Speaker volume was pretty loud. No one had any issues with hearing us. And in our 20 call drop test, we did not have any. So thumbs up to Sony for that. So this phone is a kind of a mixed bag for me. I had really high hopes after seeing it at CES. I loved the way the phone felt. I loved the waterproofingness of it, which I'll talk about at length. And the phone looked like it was exactly what Sony needed to really make inroads into the United States market. So I've been breaking reviews down previously into what I like and what I don't like. This one though, I'm just going to talk about the features of the phone, and we're going to go with the flow. Alright, so let's start big time here with the screen, since that's pretty much what you're going to look at whenever you're doing anything with this guy. So you'd expect it to have a beautiful screen, 1080p. There aren't that many phones out there that have 1080p yet. Looks good, but it's not as amazing as a 1080p screen should look, especially when you compare it to the HTC One or the Droid DNA. As we're going to see throughout the whole review, this is a huge case of form over function. The phone's essentially waterproof to a reasonable amount. I wouldn't take it scuba diving, but if you're out in the rain, you drop it in the toilet, you drop it in a puddle, you are going to be fine. But because of that, the screen has to be sealed and coated, which kind of makes it look like it's got a bad screen protector on it. You can tell there's a good screen underneath just waiting to get out. And I really wish that we could have seen what that beautiful screens look like. Sony is really known for beautiful display technologies. I just don't feel like that's being shown here with the Xperia Z. One other issue that I've got with the phone, it's got a beautiful 5-inch screen, but a lot of it's taken up with these on-screen buttons, which is kind of annoying. Now it's nice that the on-screen buttons can change contextually depending on what app you're in, but if you're using one of the more common apps, at least for me, the browser, you can really see a difference with how much content is shown. So if I bring in the HTC One, which actually has a smaller screen, this is a 4.7-inch screen versus the 5-inch screen on the Xperia Z, you can see that I can see more content here on the One. I can see that third article down below, which I just can't do here on the Z, and you see that they're both at the top of the page. You can't scroll up any higher. So all the content I really want to see on the Xperia Z, you can't see because that real estate is being taken up. There's a huge bezel here down below, which looks like it'd be a great place to put actual buttons. So I would have really liked to have seen that. Viewing angles here aren't that great as well. I think that's another case because of the coating on the screen. So if you're looking at it from a slight angle, you're going to have a really hard time seeing it. And it's almost impossible to see in direct sunlight. It's actually one of the worst phones I've seen in direct sunlight, or not seen, I should say. And that again is more than likely due to that screen coating on it that makes this phone waterproof. So something I do like about the phone, I really sort of dig the design. It's like a giant slab in your hand. That huge power button lives right here on the right hand side, and at first I found that a bit of an odd design cue, but I found myself really getting used to it. I love the fact that it was big and pronounced. I can actually find it very easily. Having the volume rocker up and down below it was certainly something new, but muscle memory after a few days made it pretty easy to keep up with. All the ports on this phone are covered because it is waterproof, which is nice if you're out in the rain, but it can definitely make it annoying if you want to plug in a headset or you want to charge your phone or do anything that would involve a peripheral port on here. Definitely something to keep in mind. So a lot of people are asking, why would you want a waterproof phone? Besides the obvious ones of dropping in the toilet or a puddle. If you take a phone out in the rain, especially a phone that's got a 3.5mm headset jack on the top, if a water droplet should get in there, oftentimes there is a moisture sensor, and if you take the phone in to get warranty serviced, it will be triggered to show that there is water damage to the phone. So that's one thing at least to consider. The camera is another big story here, and the camera was really solid, especially in low light. Sony's got their Bravia Engine 2 in here, which absolutely helps tremendously with not only viewing images, but taking images and processing anything that has to do with stills and video. The camera quality was really good. Again, especially in low light. If you want to get a better sense of what the camera looks like, we did a full post comparing the HTC One's ultra pixel camera with a variety of others, including the Xperia Z, so you can see a full example of what this looks like. This is definitely one of the best smartphone cameras that I've tested. Performance is really quick, as you'd expect from a quad core, even though most software can't yet take advantage of quad core. It was a pretty quick phone. Quadrant score of 7,773, which is pretty solid score. Now certainly that's not the go-to test for all phone scores, but it's consistent. I use it in all of my phones, and that's one of the highest ones that I've seen. Things here are pretty fast. Everything you expect to works playing games, browsing the internet, no matter what you're doing, everything here just works quick, and as you'd expect, there's really no lag at all, especially during scrolling, which sometimes you can see on Android devices. So Sony has gotten rid of not only the Ericsson moniker, but their Timescape and Mediascape UI that we've seen sitting on top of Android. I really like what they've done here. It's very soft. They haven't overly skinned things. They have a lot of ways to let Android be Android. A few interesting things though. If you go ahead and do a little pinch action there, you can see the way you access the widgets, apps, wallpapers, or themes, which lets you sort of customize the way the phone looks a little bit. It doesn't do all that much for you. Essentially, it just changes background and lock screen. I would have liked to have seen a screen that gives me more information on the lock screen, but certainly a third-party app can take care of that. If we go ahead and go back, take a look at some of the widgets that are here, and Sony's got some really nice ones. Some weather widgets, which are really handy, and all the stock Google ones that you see. But in a lot of ways, Sony really didn't do that much here with Android. One area where they did do a couple tweaks was in the app tray here, so you can see what things look like. You can view them any way you choose, own, order, alphabetical, most used, or recently installed. Prefer alphabetical, makes it easier to find things. I'll go ahead and go back home. One other cool UI quirk that we've got here, if you go ahead and hit the multitasking button, you can put little widgets on top of the screen. So if I select calculator, drag that there, I can go ahead and do my calculations right on it. When I'm done, just get rid of it. It's very neat that Sony has done that. And there are a few options here for things you can choose from. So what's the verdict here on the Xperia Z? This is a phone that exists in a world with a lot of other phones out there, and it's got to be a compelling reason to pick this one up. As of this filming, it has not been announced by a US carrier, meaning you've got to shell out full retail price for the phone, and I've got a very hard time recommending it. There's nothing wrong with the phone, nothing particularly great or outstanding about it either. In a world of HTC Ones and Galaxy phones and Droid DNAs, this is going to be a really hard sell for me. If I'm someone that wants to take my phone snorkeling, this would be one reason to consider it. If I live in a rainy climate and I constantly have water damage, yeah, it's going to make a lot of sense. But there's nothing that this phone really excels in that would make me purchase this over any other competitors on the market. This phone gets a 7.5 on the Techno Buffalo scale, which I think is exactly where it belongs. It works well, there's no faults with it, it's just not great. The screen I would have liked to have been a bit better. If they'd release a non-waterproof version of this, and I know they've got the Xperia ZL, but it doesn't have the same screen size that we've got here, I would absolutely love it, and perhaps my opinions would change. But when you're looking here at the Xperia Z, I just don't think I can justify it for the money. So what do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree with my opinion on the Xperia Z? I would love to hear your thoughts. Leave your comments down below, and please give this video a thumbs up. We definitely appreciate it. Be sure to check us out at technobuffalo.com for the latest and greatest tech news. I'm John Rettinger. I'll see you in the next video.